Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Ralph is in the house. Karen, Erlethea, Charlene, and Jade. So far, we've got some more. You guys check in when you come in. I got this white shirt on. It looks a little weird, doesn't it? Does the white shirt look weird?
Yeah. There's a little bit of a glow.
Yeah, the white shirt is glowing.
Maybe it's because you just have some good answers to the couple of questions we have.
I feel like I'm glowing tonight. I feel like I'm in a glow. How about that?
Yeah.
So we're coming off a really good home tour on Saturday,
Yes.
and I asked Keith earlier today what was the best thing that he thought about the house tour on Saturday, and what was his major takeaway. And his response was the key lime pie at Burton's. And I think he's got his fork ready. He's on his way over to Burton after this meeting to get some key lime. Was that key lime pie good?
Delicious. But the whole day was really, really good to see the properties and the numerous questions that came from what everyone saw. Just very promising for as we enter the summer months to find our own deals.
And what I liked the most about it was we had at least um, two of our investors interested in writing contracts on a couple of the properties, and so that made me feel good because it made
Yeah.
me feel like I picked the right property. So hopefully it was a great event. I do enjoy those house tours. It gives us an opportunity to interact with everyone and network, and help people help themselves. So it was really good. So look, you guys, we don't have a lot of questions, so we're probably going to end this pretty quickly. You guys are open to putting some questions in the comment section. We want to make sure that we get all your questions answered so that you don't feel like you're on an island all by yourself. We want to be great resources for you. And so if you have any questions along the way, you can ask them here, or you can always call and ask your questions. You have both Keith and I's phone numbers, email, text. We want to make sure that we get all your questions answered so that we can play, somewhat of a role in your financial success. So Keith, go ahead. I think we only have maybe two questions, but go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So Greg Searle, Erlethea has sent in a question.
Okay.
And she's curious about purchasing properties in Baltimore. And so she's heard that when you purchase properties in Baltimore, that you don't own the land. So she wants to know, is that true? And, what circumstances might that be the case, that you can buy a property but not necessarily own the land? And is that a good thing or a bad thing?
So it's not a bad thing, and but it's not necessarily true. And so Baltimore, like some other jurisdictions, but definitely Baltimore, has what's called ground rent, and I think that's what Erlethea, I think that's what you're referring to as ground rent, where you don't necessarily own the land underneath your house, but you can buy it, and it's very inexpensive. I tell people what I used to do is I would just buy the ground rent, and which is, from my recollection, would be a couple $1,000s, like two or three or $4,000, and now I own the land. Um, but I do think a better strategy is to pay the ground rent, because I can look it up, but for most properties, the ground rent is, I don't know, it's very, very inexpensive a year, and almost not even worth buying it. And there's really no benefit. There's no benefit in owning um, the land. There's really no difference in whether a house has, in Baltimore, whether a house has ground rent or not. You are making a payment of a couple $100s a year. And so, and this question came up a few weeks ago, but I never even consider, I never even look or care whether it has ground rent or not, because it's it's such um you know, the amount that you pay is so low and so little that it's really not even a consideration anymore for me. It used to be, like I said, and I have, when you go to settlement, you can just tell the title company you want to pay off the ground rent, and they know how to look that up and get it paid off. But the people who own the ground rent, I think the history is many years ago, there was a couple or few families that just bought up all the ground rent. And so they've been making money, a couple $100 a year, with all those properties, all those row houses in Baltimore that, they've made a ton of money over the last, I'll just say, 100 years. Um, but it's not even anything to consider. I don't consider it. In most cases, I don't even know if I have ground rent or not. I think it's paid alongside of your property taxes, and so it's nothing to consider. It's nothing to even worry about. If anybody else has any comments or what they think about ground rent, um, we should. Tarsha knows a lot about the ground rent there, being on the title, mortgage and title side. But I like I said, I don't. I used to pay it off, but now I don't.
Hey, Greg, is there ground rent in DC in the Capitol Hill area?
No,
Okay.
it's primarily in Baltimore, but I
Hmm.
have seen it in areas like maybe like St. Mary's County or some other, maybe a little more rural places. But Baltimore is kind of famous or popular for ground rent.
Hmm.
But I have seen it's kind of, just the term ground rent kind of scares some people off. And like I said, I don't even consider it anymore.
Good, good, good. So, Greg, Jade has a question or two. Jade is curious to know what are the added risks, if any, involved in wholesaling auction properties? And she's curious to know regarding that: do you lose the deposit that has to be placed, or the contingencies in the contract agreement?
So there's no contingencies in the contract. So when you win a bid at the auction, I actually auctioned off a property today. One of my properties, I gave it to Ashton Auctions, and it was up for bid today. And I allowed someone to win the bid, so someone won the bid on one of my properties. But no, I mean, they don't. The auctioneer, they don't know that you're wholesaling the property, so there's no contingencies in the contract. The only contingency really is, the property not getting title. There's some issues with the title, but there's no contingencies in that contract. It's just a one-page contract. The only risk is that you're unable to find a cash buyer, and so that's why I always tell people on auction properties, if you're going to wholesale them, make sure you want to do reverse wholesaling. You want to make sure you have the cash buyer in hand, and what they want to buy the property for, and someone that you know and trust, before you bid on a property. And it's kind of hard. When I first started investing many years ago, uh, there would be wholesalers going, and still is going, to the auction, and you would see them there. They'd be on the phone with their, either their cash buyer or their employer, or another investor, letting them know how the bidding is going, and they would tell them whether to continue to bid or not. And you still see that, but back in what I call back in the day, that was very prevalent, very prevalent. And every now and then, especially if you've ever been to the auction in front of the courthouse steps in Baltimore, you do see that. I don't see that in in DC or Prince George's County, but you do see wholesalers at the auction. And so that's how I would do it. I do know of a buddy of mine who he was really good at wholesaling. I mean, he knew his numbers. He was impeccable with his numbers. And so he would actually go to the auctions, bid on the auctions and win. And then he would go out and find a cash buyer. If he couldn't find a cash buyer, his second exit strategy was he would just buy the property and either renovate it and flip it or renovate it and hold it. But his first priority would be to wholesale the property. But it's Nate. So Nate would, Nate would do that. But he was really, I mean, he knew his numbers and everything, and he had the wherewithal to actually purchase the property. But what he would try to do was wholesale that property before he had to close on it. And he was very successful. I mean, he would just go to the auction and, probably at least once a month, maybe twice a month, he would pick up a property and wholesale.
Greg, I don't have any other questions that came in.
Okay. Any other questions that you guys may have? You want to put them in the comment section, and we're more than happy to answer. Let me think of some questions that I may have gotten this week from some of our investors. I think there were some questions about comps on some of the properties that we looked at on Saturday. Financing. I did get some questions about financing. We talked at lunch a lot about the DSCR loans, and maybe we will have Tarsha maybe next Tuesday come on and talk about that. It's the DSCR is the debt service ratio loans, where the lender actually takes the financials, meaning they take a look at the income, the rents that are coming in. They also take a look at basically the equity. And if you're at if you're at about a 70, you could be 80% loan to value. At 80, that would mean that you've got really, really, really good credit. And if the financials show, the income show that you're more than covering the rent, I think it's at 70% of the rent, then you don't have to come up with any money. There's no down payment on those loans. And so I've had a couple. I did a refinance. I believe it was last year. Time moves so fast. And those loans, we talked about this at lunch. I said that they needed to be seasoned for 60 days, but I think a couple of people said that they didn't need to be seasoned. But at any rate, mine was seasoned. And so I didn't have to, because the numbers worked so well, and I bought the property right, and I didn't have to come to the table with any money on the refinance. And so that came up, and that came up this week, and a few other questions came up this week, primarily pertaining to the houses that we looked at. I will say this, you guys. And I mentioned this on Saturday, those that were at the house tour. All I simply did, I believe we looked at 3 properties, four including Dana's property.
Yeah.
But we looked at 3 properties that were available to buy. I just went to the MLS. That's all I did. And some investors, I don't normally go to the MLS. It's sort of a last resort for me. And I don't normally go to the MLS because in my mind, it's too much competition. But these properties, it didn't seem to be a lot of competition. I think one of them, the bidding actually starts on the 31st, the end of this month. So that one's probably going to get bidded up. I think I want to say that was the one on Hillside, but I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But oftentimes investor will say that their problem is they can't find properties. And we tell them to market. We tell them to cold call. We tell them to use social media, direct mail, postcards, go to the auctions, things like that. But there's some hidden gems right in front of you, right on the MLS. And if you don't have access to the MLS, you can team up with a real estate agent.
Prop Street probably would still have that as well.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say or PropStream, but they're right in front of us. They're hidden gems right in sight, right on the MLS, and so part of the game with that though is you just got to make offers, and you got to find a way to quickly make offers on properties. The only thing they can do is say no. One downside to the MLS also is, I think I was talking to maybe Jay today. A lot of real estate agents don't understand investing, have no clue what wholesaling is. They want to use the contract that they've been using for years. And so they won't accept our investor contract, which is fine. I mean, there's a solution to everything. But, and so that for those reasons, I generally stay away from properties on the MLS. But I proved myself wrong Saturday. There was some good properties. The first one in Seat Pleasant, or really technically the second one we looked at in Seat Pleasant, the one we looked at in Hyattsville off of Central Avenue, off of Bright Seat Road. And then even the last property that needed a lot of work. I didn't get too many people interested in wanting to write on that one. But that was primarily because of the work that was needed. But if you're like a seasoned investor with a crew, that would be a great property because you could get that one really, really low. I think that one's going to sit on the market because it needs a lot of work. But I mentioned this Saturday, the uglier the property is, the better off you are in terms of negotiation. And then, like I said, if you've got a crew, they could go into that one. I believe that one could have been a 5-bedroom. Yeah. So you could have put 2 bedrooms in the basement, already had plumbing for a bathroom in the basement. And then there was 3, I believe there was 3 bedrooms on the main level. And so actually,
So Greg, on that particular property, that wouldn't be considered a gut job, would it?
No, you're not gutting that out. You're not like taking it down to the studs or anything like that. Right. It's extensive, but it's primarily like cosmetics. I think some of the, from what I can remember, I look at a lot of properties. But yeah, that was but everything needed to be done. The kitchen needed to be gutted. The bathrooms needed to be gutted. New electrical, new plumbing, new HVAC. A lot of the wood on the deck needed to be replaced. New roof, windows. So it just needed a little bit of everything, which can be intimidating, which is good. I mean, for some people, I would rather you not do a property like that because a project like that can become overwhelming. If you haven't flipped a lot of properties, or if you're going at it by yourself. And so I think that the other 2 properties would have been better options, a lot less work. But because of that, a couple of you guys voiced a lot of interest on those properties. Mm-hmm. And so do what you're comfortable with. I remember one of the girls said that she would definitely stay away from that last property. That one was definitely not for her. And so, but that's good. You've got to know, because I will tell you guys this, and this is a fact, that a lot of people lose money investing in real estate because they get they get kind of over their head. The numbers are wrong. That's the number one reason they lose money, because they buy the properties wrong. Some people, and we have them in our group, buy too many properties at once. and get kind of overwhelmed. And that's happened to me, to be honest. Sometimes I'm too ambitious, too overzealous, and I'm finding these deals and I'm writing contracts on them, but I haven't finished these other projects that I'm working on. So we want to take our time so we don't make mistakes and we don't make these mistakes. And so these mistakes are like Dana will tell you, he showed us a lot of success on Saturday, but he will tell you 10 years ago he failed and fell right on his face, lost money, and just vowed never to get into real estate investing again until he found our program. Now he's got mentorship, coaching, a lot of you guys do, and so now he's thriving. I don't know about I don't know about buying. I mean, putting these properties under contract and renovating them. Is Dana on here? We talking about Dana? Is he on here?
No, he's asking me now for a meeting. So I'm letting him know. Yeah.
Let's keep talking bad about him before he comes on. Now I'm just messing with Dana. But yeah, I don't know that. Well, I guess you could do a subject too. I mean, maybe he's doing a subject too, not even knowing he's doing a subject too. But that just speaks to him taking action, and you guys got to take action, just like Dana's doing. Those that was out on Saturday saw that he's taking action, and I'm kind of lukewarm about how he's renting them out with the programs. I was totally against it when they first came out with these. We learned about these programs about a year ago.
Yeah.
Iris talked about the programs.
Maybe a little over a year ago. Yep.
Yeah, Iris, we were in Baltimore looking at some of Iris's properties, and she said she was renting out to some programs. And so she gave everybody the information, and a few people, Dana, Baba, and a few other people, used the contact and started renting their properties out the same way, which is good. That's why we network. And they're getting more money than I would get on mine. But there is, like I said, there is some turnover that's involved. And so I just like get me a tenant in there, and I kind of want to know they're going to be in there for 10 years or more. And so that's why I use the voucher programs. And so that and those programs are a form of the voucher programs, but they're not Section 8.
Yeah, Joe Asamoah, a couple of weeks back when we had the lunch and learn, he talked about he averages 15 to 20 years. He has one tenant, Section 8, for 26 years. Basically paid off the house.
One of my agents, Rhonda Tinsley. I don't know if you remember her or not.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She had a tenant for 30 years. And if you were to look at, she sold me the house.
On Fernleaf.
Fernleaf.
Yep.
She had the same tenant the whole time. And when you look at the property, you say, yeah, they was in there for 30 years. They had the same carpet in there that she put in there like 30 years ago. Was it 20 years or 30? Anyway, the county paid off the house for her with that tenant. And she had to tell the tenant, I'm selling it. She sold the property to pay off her daughter's college tuition. She had earmarked that property for her daughter's tuition. And so she sold it. She actually sold it to me. And I think me and Baba renovated that one and flipped it.
Yep.
But that just goes to show you those voucher programs, like they paid off her house. Basically, the voucher program paid her daughter's tuition, basically. And so that's the reason why we invest in real estate, you guys, to build wealth. And we build wealth for a lot of different reasons. I wholesale to pay for my daughter's college tuition. Some of you guys want to use the properties for retirement, to pay off bills, just for a whole host of reasons. You want these properties. You can refinance, pull cash out to buy other investments, to put money in annuities, things like that for your retirement. that's why we invest in real estate, to leave an inheritance for our children and our children's children. That's why we invest. We want to leave something behind. And so for those reasons is why you guys are here on this call tonight and interested in investing in real estate, and all of you guys are doing it. So I applaud you guys for taking action, being around like-minded people. And so it's good. It's good. We don't have any other questions. If we don't, I'm gonna let everybody out a little early this time. There is a little basketball game I want to watch. See if the Miami Heat's gonna sweep my beloved Celtics, like the Lakers got swept last night. All right, you guys. That's all I have. If you guys need anything of me, just let me know. Call me, text me. I'm happy to help you guys. I've got a property in Northwest DC that I'm going to be marketing probably starting tomorrow. Karen is saying, please no talking about the Lakers. That I'm going to be marketing. I'll send it out to you guys. It's a row house. I believe that's I want to say that's Petworth. On Second and is that Riggs? Second in Missouri. And so I'll be marketing that. If you guys know anyone that's looking, any investors that are buying and holding or flipping in that area, just let me know. All right, you guys. Take care. God bless. And we will talk to you guys soon. Have a good night.
Good night, guys. Take care.
Good night.